On a quiet summer night, I gathered with my friends, Ali and Fatima, in an old cafe. The lights were dim and we were exchanging stories about abandoned places. The conversation heated up when someone mentioned the cursed palace perched on a desolate hill. It was said that souls wandered around it, igniting our curiosity. We listened intently as tales unfolded. The palace was infamous for an old crime where an entire family had been murdered during a stormy night. There were whispers of screams heard at night and mysterious lights illuminating its windows. A chill ran down my spine, but my curiosity outweighed my fear. We debated whether we should explore the palace. Excitement coursed through our veins, and I decided we should be brave. We agreed to go the next morning, and sleep eluded us that night as thoughts of the palace consumed us. In the morning, we set off down a narrow path flanked by thick trees. The air was heavy with the scent of damp grass. As we walked, fog began to form, shrouding the way in mystery. My heart raced, yet I felt something drawing me toward the palace. Upon arrival, we faced the ancient closed doors of the palace. It looked abandoned, with crumbling walls and climbing flowers obscuring the windows. A cold breeze swept through the air, as if the palace were exhaling its last breath. I turned to see Ali and Fatima, both trembling with fear. We entered the main hall. Dust coated the walls, and broken furniture lay scattered about. The dim lights flickered oddly, as if dancing in the darkness. Suddenly the lights went out, and we heard a whispering sound echoing from deep within the palace. I looked at Fatima, her eyes wide with terror. I noticed an old painting hanging on the wall. It depicted a sorrowful family, their eyes filled with tears. Ali asked, "Were they the victims?" I felt something unsettling in the air, as if they were watching us through the canvas. While we examined the painting, faint screams echoed from the upper floor. Fear gripped us, but curiosity urged us to ascend. With each step, the voices grew clearer, as if the palace was warning us to stay away. We climbed the rickety stairs. The air grew colder, heavier. A sound emanated from one of the rooms. The noise intensified, resembling a desperate cry for help. I glanced at Ali and Fatima. Their faces were pale with dread. We found a locked room. We tried to open the door, but it was securely fastened. A sense of foreboding washed over me, as if something was warning us against entering. We hesitated, yet the screams urged us on. Suddenly, I experienced fleeting visions from the past. A family in the room, a child crying, a furious man advancing toward them. These visions replayed repeatedly, as if the palace were trying to convey a message. "We need to leave," Fatima screamed. We returned to the main hall and discovered old journals among the broken furniture. They recounted the crime that had occurred in the palace: betrayal, rage, and torment. The words danced before my eyes, and I felt the weight of history pressing on us. As we read, a dispute arose about whether we should stay or leave. Thoughts clashed in my head, yet something told me we had to continue. "We need to find out what happened here," I insisted. We decided to go back upstairs. I felt an unseen force pulling me, as if I were searching for answers. As we approached the locked room, the voices rose again, as if the palace were screaming at us. Upon entering the locked room, we found something extraordinary. An old table and blocks of burnt wax littered the area, suggesting they had been used for dark rituals. The air was thick with a foul odor, as if the past were screaming around us. Suddenly, lights began to flicker around us. I sensed an invisible presence watching us. Coldness enveloped me, as if an angry spirit hovered nearby. "We need to get out of here," Fatima shouted, but we felt trapped. We decided to flee, but the doors were locked. The screams intensified, as if trapped spirits were trying to save us. Fear overwhelmed us as we ran through the dark corridors. We searched desperately for an exit. The lights were fading, and the palace seemed to shift around us. With each step, the walls felt like they were closing in, as if the palace were swallowing us whole. I sensed we were trapped in a nightmare. As we ran, we became separated. Panic gripped me as I heard my friends' voices fading into the darkness. Footsteps echoed in my ears, as if something were following me. I found myself in a small room. Darkness closed in around me and the sounds faded away. I tried to stay calm, but fear consumed me. Suddenly, a cold hand touched my shoulder. I turned, but there was no one there. I felt a cold hand on my shoulder once more. I struggled to breathe. "Ali, Fatima!" I cried, but there was no response. Spirits hovered around me as if trying to tell me something. After a moment, I found Ali and Fatima. They were terrified, and we decided to stick together. "We need to get out of here," Ali said, while Fatima's eyes brimmed with tears. We returned to the main hall, but darkness seemed to deepen. Faint voices called us to stay. An eerie sensation enveloped us, as if we were part of an ancient ritual. We decided to confront the palace. We had to uncover what had happened. The journals hinted at rituals that needed to be stopped. "We must free the trapped souls," I said, their eyes filled with fear. We found a place within the palace that seemed to be the ritual center. Mysterious symbols covered the ground, suggesting they had been used in dark ceremonies. The atmosphere was tense, as if the palace were watching us. We began performing the rituals in reverse. We avoided the words used in the past. We needed to free the trapped souls. The voices grew louder, as if the palace were in agony. As we performed the rituals, storms began to brew outside the palace. Winds whipped through the trees, as if nature were responding to our actions. There was a sense that something monumental was occurring. Suddenly, the palace shook. The lights flickered out, and we heard the screams of souls being liberated. A sense of peace washed over us, as if the palace were bidding us farewell. I felt I could finally breathe again. When the ritual ended, I found myself outside. I felt as though I had emerged from a nightmare. The sky was clear, and sunlight warmed my face. I turned to see my friends smiling at me. We returned to our normal lives, but the palace remained etched in my memory. We learned a lesson about adventure and courage, but we would never forget what happened in the cursed palace. It was an experience that changed our lives, and sometimes I find myself listening to the whispers of the palace in my